representation and agenda, and hold them accountable, representatives rather, an agenda, and hold them accountable if they do not re-elect them. All right, so with all that being said, politics is still a game that we generally don't know how to play. And the problem is that power corrupts, and absolute power corrupts absolutely. It was Claude Anderson who also said, and I'll let y'all talk, he said if you send a midget up to Congress, he'll be about midget issues. If you send a humpback, he's gonna be about humpback issues. If you send a black people, black person, he's gonna try to be for everybody. You see what I'm saying? So there's nobody talking about black issues, because then we get multicultural and all this kind of stuff. And there's nothing wrong with that, but there has to be a time and a space and a place where somebody can focus on what we need to be focusing on. Everybody, we've kind of leaned on politics with Dr. Atwaters in the group, but let's talk about it for a minute. President Obama, many say, was up there for 8 years and we never gave him agenda. So we just simply were so enamored that we didn't hold his feet to the fire. We had a gay rainbow on the White House. We had DACA. We had various other, come on, I ain't scared of y'all now. We had various other things, but we did not have a police reform bill, and we do know that Michael Garner, Freddie Gray, and all these atrocities happened under his watch. They say it is called the illusion of inclusion. Y'all remember the year that we had the blackout in the Oscars? That was the year they put the black woman as the president of the Oscars. So oftentimes they put a black face up there, and while you with the black face, they wiping away everything that we had. I'm not saying that may be true or false, it's just a narrative. So let's ask this question. One, how do we deal with politics? And two, how do we hold politicians accountable? Who else wants to jump in on that one?
I think real quickly, you have to understand the historical pretext of politics. American politics was never designed to benefit the descendants of American slaves. In fact, quite to the contrary, it was designed to benefit from them as it does today. So, and politics without economics is zero. And when black politicians are in office and do not have an economic base, you got a job in politics. And that's what it amounts to. And no more than that. We have all the political seats, basically the predominance here in the city of Memphis. Where's the power? All you gotta do is take a minute, stop and stare at people rise through White Haven. The largest predominantly black capital income is White Haven. More black on home, more black professionals. We don't have a gas station. We'll have a grocery store. And I don't mean compete with growers, I just simply mean to start. So politics does not mean power. It means a position, or without the economic base, what does it mean? Politics in America was never designed to benefit us. Okay, who's in the seat? Because whoever in the White House does not affect white men. It doesn't matter. Who's the president? It's a seat they designed for themselves.
Absolutely.
We're the one affected.
So he's selected, not elected. But anybody else?
Let me clarify something. Statistically, we say that we do not have a black vote. Let it be clear that it is the black woman vote most of the time that runs the show. So we out there voting. But I think black women take the vote of everything that comes against our community. We raise our children, try to do the best we can with education. With black women, no matter what we do, it's not good enough. And that's part of the problem. We need to address that issue too. We hear all the time, we talk about our black kids and our men or whatever the case may be. But it's black women who are sustaining our families at this point. So we need to address that because, and I'm gonna give you a good example, we're gonna keep this thing real. I was up in a thrift store the other day, and I love my black brothers dearly. I even create expel jobs every year, paying them $100 a day. This black brother was walking through Goodwill, talking about, excuse my expression, talking about, we ought to cut these black bees' neck off and throw them over in a ditch. And the Harriet Tubman and me would not allow that man to walk up that store without addressing him. All these white women just looking, and he going around, it was about 4 or 5 women. I said, you all better step it up, because I'm getting ready to address him. And so when I walked up to him, I don't care anything about him running for the governor of the state of Tennessee. I'm going to do me. Okay? I'm going to take it to the street. If you're wrong, you're wrong. So therefore, I walked up to him. I said, brother, I said, you will not be disrespecting black women on my clock. I want to talk about that. When you talk about black women and talk about cutting their neck and put them in a ditch, that's disrespectful, and I'm not going to allow you to do it. I scared that man so bad he put his clothes down and walked out the store. We got to address some of these disrespectful brothers in the community. Keep disrespecting us 24/7. I hear it on radio stations all the time. Show some respect to the black women.
I feel you. And the problem with that is, and when you talk about education, let's give that a round of applause. That is true. And again, and when I talk about not blaming the victim, you have to look at the mentality. In other words, Western mentality is what has taken over us, the Western thought pattern. In other words, our ancestors were a matrilineal system, Mother Nature, Mother Time, Mother Earth, right? Even though you couldn't be a pharaoh, it had to come through the female's bloodline. People don't know this, but again, we talked about it today, but the Sphinx was a woman. They didn't knock the nose off that Sphinx because they didn't want you to know it was a man. They put a fake beard on her to make you think it was a man, because Western mindset, the Caucasian woman was pretty much just a sexual toilet. You know what I mean? Back in then, for 200 years, the white woman worshipped the black woman in the festival of Isis. You can Google that, right? So this is what I'm saying. So what they have to do, they had to then vilify the black woman, and all we're doing now is still buying into the mindset. You see, once we get educated though, and to understand, a lot of stuff that has been off, through either religion, I ain't scared of y'all on that. Religion has come and vilified the black woman. You know what I'm saying? Because the sin post came through y'all. Y'all weren't even made yet based on that story. But anyway, but a lot of things have come to make us feel this way, and we're just simply acting out the script, you see? And so we spend, I'll say the last thing I'll say, but we spend 70% of our energy on people over 40, and we've got to stop that. And once you get a certain age, I can give you $5 million and you still jump over your neighbor's fence and get his Xbox if he left it outside. That fool's sleeping, that fool, no dude, you got 5, you see, because you just triggered, you see. But the babies, if we can keep them away from 12 years of slave, roots, and all them things until they can get 10 or 11, where we then get them strong moral thought patterns, and then they can accept some of this stuff that we send on them. But I'm sorry, I didn't mean to overtalk. Somebody, yes sir, you had something to say.
Man, it's just too much. Let me just try to do my best, okay? The problem is the black women voting for Democrats all the time. That's the problem. The black women vote got us in this rut. The black woman has been used as the pawn to destroy the black family. That's no joke. You replace the black father with the U.S. government. You know what I'm saying? You can't keep a black man in the house, to get paycheck from the government. Black men pay more. I wish Judge Brown was here. Black men pay more in the child support than any man in the country. But yet we the boogeyman for everything wrong with America. Black men are not allowed to be men. You brought up the Montgomery bus boycott. I'm trying to cut my mic. You brought up the Montgomery bus boycott, right? Don't you know that black women were being raped by white police officers and white bus drivers? Until they started this boycott, black men who came from Korea and World War II were allowed to protect the sisters, escorting the sisters. It's called, look up the rape of Reese Taylor. This woman got raped coming home from church back in 1944 by 7 white men, and nothing was done about it. Rosa Parks was involved in that case. But with the Democratic Party, they the party of terrorists. They started the Klan. Democrats, Nathan Bedford was a Democrat. He was a delegate for the 1868 convention. The first grand wizard of the Klan was a Democrat. Democrats didn't want to pass no anti-lynching bills. Democrats disenfranchised the black family. Why are we voting for Democrats all the time? What the hell is wrong with us? Are we that insane? Like, you look like, okay, Afghanistan. I'm gonna tell you, I don't care about this damn thing. Look, Afghanistan, right? Y'all, why don't y'all go to Dearborn, Michigan? Y'all ever been to Dearborn, Michigan? How many of y'all been to Detroit? What do black folks own in Detroit besides high blood pressure? Go to Dearborn, Michigan. They call that the Arab capital of America. All them Iraqis, every Middle Eastern group out there thrive. I went to Dearborn, just driving with a sister from Detroit about 5 years ago. Arabs own everything. Getting A-rail money, American money, everything. They own mansions, they own car dealerships, they own restaurants, they own you outside Detroit. And you've been here since how long? You was already over here, some of y'all. Y'all still don't got nothing to show for all this blood, sweat, and tears and years. Got nothing. So don't tell me I'm not going to say black men are the most disrespected group of people in the country. You're a black male, because we can't be men. We're in a state of arrested development. Our own women don't respect us. What other group of people where their women don't respect them? Because the black man ain't shit. We ain't shit people, because Every other group of people gotta go through their men to get stuff. White women gotta go through their cracker men to get stuff. What the hell black people gotta go? I'm going to dad to get that check on your ass down the juvenile court. You have to ask a black man for a goddamn thing.
All right, still can watch.
Okay, I'm saying. I'm already moving. I ain't trying to get no job.
No, it's all right.
Wrote me off.
We still make sure that we
It's too much. It's too much. I need
you good though? You
yes,
good?
psychologist right here.
Help.
Yeah, he gonna leave your ground. Leave your ground. Okay, you get ready to get technically knocked out, okay? But let me say this to you. That's the problem in our black family that we need to address. All it took me talking about black women, and he just lost his, I love him to death. Okay, but.
Y'all raised the sons though. Y'all raised the man on the males that don't do right.
Okay, let me talk. Let me focus. Now,
you don't have to touch me either. You don't have to touch me either, sister. I ain't touch you.
He's not upset because he brought up black women. He's upset because you don't want me to. No.
I'm saying I not touch you. Say you gonna knock me out. Technically, for speaking my mind. Hey, I just proved my point.
No.
Why you mad at me for telling my truth? Y'all I'm like Jimi Hendrix over here. Y'all destroyed my stuff like a play guitar.
All right, let's see. Is that up? Go ahead, Dr. Edward.
No, first of all, I would never, ever put my hands on you.
You did though. You said you gonna TKO me. Okay, go ahead.
Come on now, bro. Let's not go now, okay? But when it all boils down, when you talk about child support, it's not about blaming the black woman. When it comes to the child support, there was a system that divided our community and our family. Because I don't care if you're a man and the court told you to pay child support or whatever, you're supposed to take care of your family. I'm not blaming a man for what the system did to you, but you can't blame a woman for what the system did to our family also too. We got to stop being divided.
All
and
right.
we have to stop being divided when it comes to our family.
And of course
this fight is not about black men and black women. It's about fighting the system that divided our community.
All right. So.
No, don't say that.
All right. Listen, I'm a point of order.
Don't say that.
Listen. Listen. I think I feel like Trump now. There are good people on both sides.
Yeah.
but I'm saying the point is the passion is necessary on both sides. Again, it's okay for her to call out the ills of the shortcomings of black man, but I know, but it's he's on threat. But it's also important for you to stand up for, because you know the plight, you know how we can. And like I said, until you can unravel how you got there, we could spend all day fighting each other. But we didn't get it, So that's right there. Let's stop right there. Now, you want to say something, yes, sir?
Just quickly
About this last topic of we're talking about now. What are we talking about? Voting rights, yes, sir. Or voting period.
Our First Nation people who referred to as the Indians, have a saying that the left wing and the right wing belong to the same bird. Democrats, Republicans, Independents are the same bird. They're all about necropolitics. And necropolitics is how people who have power make decisions about people who don't have power. And those decisions are the ones that are killing us today. When President Rump decided not to send the supplies at the school, at the hospital, he knew that were dying were black people. The doctors in those damn hospitals knew. The funeral directors knew. The nurses knew. The orderlies knew. And we didn't find out until around the 15th of March, 2020, that we were the ones that were dying. Necropolitics says whoever has the power makes the determination about who is going to suffer, who is going to die. And the entire government has always been about necropolitics, and it's about necropolitics today.
And of course, and with the system having only two wings on it, Republican, Democrat, because oftentimes independents don't really make it far. So like I said earlier in the beginning, if you accept one, you got to accept the tenets. You got to sign up to all these tenets. And I don't know what she's doing, but I'm just saying, which is why I think it's wrong. Anyway, but there is a lot of history and a lot of truth in what he said about the Democratic Party, about creating the Klan. All the black people theoretically started the Republican Party. It was a fusion party. I think the Republicans and whites voted with blacks, back in the day. Because I looked at a map, and I saw in the 1800s, we were governors and all this stuff. I'm thinking, how did that? Because you think of, you think of the 1900s, but anyway, that's how it happened. And so it's like, I think 1879, and the only reason I say that because it's in the Annals of Congress that the Democratic Party started the Ku Klux Klan. That's the only reason I can
But
say.
also the Republicans sold us out because they wanted to keep the White House. They had the election in 1876.
Okay.
But they made a deal. The Democrats said, y'all can keep the White House if y'all rescind the troops from the South. Y'all need Reconstruction.
See,
So they both sold us out.
all right, so cool. So we're going to move on. Anybody have any? I don't want to make sure. Yes, ma'am. Yes. Show me that again, ma'am. I'm listening to her. Yeah.
Oh, thanks.
See, I always step ahead of you. I already went to the, yes, ma'am.
No, I just wanted to take a moment and say, and y'all forgive me, I may ask more questions today than I do actually speak.
It's okay.
Right? Because we did say that we wanted to come together and come up with some solutions. But first we have to know who we're talking to. And we have to understand why these individuals feel the way they feel. And I think the first step with that is, and big ups and thank you to the people that organized this today. This young lady right here got up and did a poem. And the first thing that she did was usher in the spirit of our ancestors by asking questions. Do you feel? Right? She asked us a number of times, do you feel? So when you ask that question, in order to feel, you gotta be touching the heart space. That's the first thing we did, was tap into the heart. But we also ushered in the spirit of our ancestors, so we can't expect to sit here and come up with solutions, but yet we are bringing in the spirit of an angry ancestor who was on the slave ship. You just mentioned Harriet Tubman. You said that you were embodying the Harriet inside of you when you were in that store, and you couldn't help but walk up to that young man with that approach. What I hear when you speak, Ron, right, is that you have read so much material and connected so deeply with the people of our past that you can't help but speak with all of your heart. And sometimes, as that spirit travels up, it comes out of here first before it hits here. You're not speaking with it. I mean, you're very intellectual, but you're not speaking from here, you're speaking from here, and you're not even allowing this to slow you down or any of that. And that's beautiful. But there's a time and a place for that. So, and same for you, you do the exact same thing. And it's a beautiful thing, but I don't know how we are going to really solve issues and come up with solutions when we're speaking from a place of the past. We're sitting up here pretending like we're not having to wear masks on our face. How can we really decide what we're going to do when we won't face the biggest issue that's in front of us all? We talking about education. I'm a mother who has a child, who had a child in the school system. How many of you have a child in the school system? Nobody asked that question. We got to start asking the right questions to know what we need to deal with. My son is sitting right there. And he wanted me to speak up so many times. I kept looking at him. Please say something. Please say something. And to be honest with you, I don't know if we're doing it the right way. You said something, Michael. You said Bruno isn't ours. Yes, he is. He's melanated. Yes, he is. There's not enough people in the room that really need to be contributing to this conversation in the right way. And I love the way this is put together, but at the end of the day, we're really not talking about what we need to be talking about.
And this is why, to your point, you're
My
absolutely
son
correct.
is not in school right now. I'm homeschooling him. I took him out.
Yeah.
He got to come up out of there, period.
And let me just say this, to your point, this is why we call it a series. See, here's what the president and I said when we tried to go, well, I've never been to a think tank, right? You know, how many of y'all, raise your hand, you've been to a think tank?
I
Okay.
have,
All right, so
but we don't do it with like
that's what I'm saying.
You know, and I felt you with what you were saying earlier. You were absolutely right. Maybe we do need to cut the lights off and the cameras off and let people in the audience really say what needs to be said. Because to be honest with you, I I don't think this is how we're gonna get
Well,
it.
this is the format we have today, so we're gonna roll through this,
Absolutely.
and then when we do the next one, we make and change the configuration and get consultation from smarter people than us. But today, we are just trying to get through these topics, hopefully get some information out, and hopefully you all have already thought about something that you didn't think about. You know what I'm saying? So there is no right or wrong way to it, and there may be another way, and I definitely want to talk about it.
Absolutely. We play too much and we stay too long. I have been sitting here this whole time wanting to know, what do you mean by that? What do you mean? Absolutely.
And I'm glad, that's a good perspective. When I came here, you have to understand how politics is played in things, okay? What is going on in the state is what I expected when I came here. Even the question that was surrounded by this panel, okay? Even the reaction that is being played out on this panel, okay? Sometimes you are invited to panels, and certain people are put on the panel in order to control the narrative. That's what I mean by that. As far as I'm concerned, we playing too much and staying too long here, because we're wasting time. Okay, the time to fight was 2 or 3 years ago when I was fighting against that Memphis 3.0, but we talked about economics here. Okay, we allowed these people to do a 25-year plan of Memphis. They spending trillions of dollars downtown. We didn't have no problem with that 2 years from now, but we have a panel talking about economics today. We behind the curveball. We play too much, we stay too long.
Gotcha, I got you. For sure. All right, let me read the next. The next topic is, of course, about the court system. No, about an economic future, and which is a great transition. Again, when I think about when you talked about West Memphis, and I'm often thinking that in radio you want cum, you want more people. It doesn't really matter who, you just want more people. And so West Memphis has businesses over there that we need in Memphis. But the bigger problem is if you can't afford to advertise or tell anybody about it, then you just become a word of mouth business. And so oftentimes that's where we end up being. And in 2 years we're out of business. But it is a lot of things that we can do together collectively. How can we get better handle on economics? You know, they say we don't work together, and I think that's a misnomer. But again, work together doing what is a better question. So I'm just going to throw economics out without any real question. That way you guys can kind of paint it from your own perspective. Economics, how can we grow? How can we sustain? And how can we have, you know, they say by 2050, blacks will have zero wealth. In other words, you'll have a car, you'll have a house, but you won't have wealth. You see what I'm saying? And how can we change that trajectory? That's the question.
I gotta go back to what young sister was just talking about real quick. Everybody can confuse they do, but all these negative things that have happened to us, all these things, these negative things that have occurred in the history of our people, but they not happened to us. See, when something happens to you, then you move to change. My daughter was murdered. She was 6 years old. Something happened to me. That's why I'm so compassionate about children. Because something happened to me. It changed my trajectory on how I see the well-being of children. Something has to happen to us in order for us to have solidarity. We had to see death up close and personal. We've seen people die, but you don't live with it. See, I live with it every day. And until we get to these points that if something happens to us that makes us change, it's going to be difficult to sit here and look for solutions. Some people say, I'm willing to work with anybody. Damn that. Will you go out of your way to work with me? I hear pastors say it all the time, and I'm willing to work with you. You mean anyone who comes and say, work with me? Or will you go out of your way to find people to work with? Because something has occurred in your life that forces that to become a reality because your sanity clings to it.
Well, we need to stop moving on issues just because we're passionate. Like say, I wasn't traumatized or raped or anything like that. So I didn't start working towards issues with that concern. Like that was never my path. I worked towards issues like my family suffered with mental illness and my brother had seizures. So that's what I wanted the cause to be. I was pushing for that. What I have learned and kind of realized is that moving with the cause because of the trauma that you have went through sometimes causes you to get into that, working it, and you're now
Narrow-minded or closed-minded thought? Yeah.
Right, correct. So that's kind of my thing, like, how can we, stop working on things based on.
Out of that trauma. Well, I was going to ask Dr. Harper. I was going to ask Dr. Harper. Is there, I've learned about the term of trauma bonding, like in fraternities and sororities, when they all go through this and then they become my line brother, and because y'all experience that trauma together. Is there such thing as positive trauma bonding? Because you look at Dr. Harrington when he was the superintendent. When some good was going on, you could spray the place with a machine gun, wouldn't hit nobody. But as soon as some controversy or they was messing with him or that place was packed. So that trauma then brought us out. You know what I'm saying? You understand what I'm asking you? I don't know if there's such a thing, but
Yeah. There are a number of ways in which it has been phrased. But many people from experiencing trauma have what they call post-traumatic growth. Now, the issue is, how do we have post-traumatic growth? How do we grow from it? Which means that sister who was raped has started a group for other women who may have had the same kind of situation, because from that negative experience, she's decided to do something with that energy as opposed to just being all welled up inside of her. The brother who sees that, who sees himself being mischaracterized and negatively put down, starts a program for black men and black manhood. So our trauma should be the energy that we use in some instances to make growth out of our lives and the lives of other people, as opposed to continuing to allow that trauma to internalize and fester within us.
all right. Well, listen, y'all. For all practical purposes, I think I've hit all 5 of these topics. And so it is 7:01 right now, and I would love to get some comments, feedback, and stuff from the audience members. But first, we've covered a lot, and I don't know if we've covered a lot. So I'm going to give you guys maybe a couple of minutes to just decode what we just went through. With any thoughts, maybe you didn't get a chance to do it, then I'll be out in the audience. We'll get some audience kind of feedback from there. Is that okay? So we'll start on this end this time.
I think that we've heard a lot today, and there's some things to process, but what I would like people to think about in their own personal lives is something I think about every day. It's called personal accountability. It's called personal accountability. And a lot of times, there are things that are going on, there are forces against us, there are systems against us. Those systems and forces are never going to stop. But when we do things to inflict pain on ourselves, when we know better, we ought to do better. Casual sex leads to casual parenting. I'm gonna say that again.
Yeah, we missed it.
Casual sex leads to casual parenting. When you don't know or care about who you're screwing, and you just met the guy or lady, do you think they're going to actually help you raise the children? What did y'all say? Where they do that at?
All right.